ben Renee Herleef. Eigenlijk doe ik niet anders of jou van heel dichtbij bekijken. De eerste artieste, een Amerikaanse kunstenares, dat ik heb mogen portretteren, is Browder. Haar atelier was opgesteld in House of Times, waar dat vrijwilligers, ouderen, kinderen, iedereen die daar zin in had, mag meehelpen naaien aan de installaties, ook zelf een stof meenemen. De allereerste vraag die ik haar stelde was, doe je ook niet-sociale projecten? Wat heeft geleid tot onmiddellijk de grote open filosofische vraag ook, wat is sociaal?
Yeah, I guess what I ask from you is like, what do you mean about non-social? Because is this non-social, or can, like, what point do we say it's no more connected to people? Because I don't think there is a line completely. I mean, you go to the museum and it's still about the experience between you and the painting. Now, obviously, it's not about the production. I think that's what you're maybe focusing on. Sorry if I'm being directed, but there's something, when people say that, it's such a moment of kind of, how do I explain this? I don't see the community as a stereotype. And I think when people start generalizing about that, you start just assuming whoever walks in, you start guessing like, it's about children, it's about elderly people, it's about families. And all those three things are excluded from the contemporary art world regularly. And so for me, calling it social doesn't mean just people who don't go to the art world. I'm not saying to separate that collection. That's actually emphasizing the separation. To me, the community is the museum-oriented, like are the curators. And I like the moment of like social interaction when you have the kids from the community hanging out with the curators. They're not here now. Where are you guys? Because that's what I'm trying to do with these projects. So the social conversation is more about how can you expand the creative practice into the larger audience. A lot of times, you know, when you go to the museum, it's a nerve-wracking experience. Not everybody feels welcome at the museums. Not everybody feels welcome at the Triennale. I think that the attempt to be outdoors is the first kind of step. But then the next conversation is how are these pieces made? Maybe we should show how they're made. Maybe the artists should interact with more of the everyday people that walk past and are like, what are you doing? Who are you? How's it going? It's a lot more work, which I understand. But I also feel that it's such a gift from the community to give us space to make these creative things. And why can't we work together versus exclude them? And then plus we get to know the city more, because you get to find out, this person's really excited about making things. I had no idea you'd be interested, because you don't go there.
Een volgende vraag dat ik aan stelde was over de vrijwilligers of de medewerkers van de installaties. En ik vroeg haar of dat er een gemeenschappelijke eigenschap is aan de mensen die langskomen. Ziet ze daar ergens iets van, ja, dat is misschien dit soort type mensen die interesse hebben om hier vrijwillig aan mee te helpen?
Sometimes, but not always. It just depends. I mean, I think what's interesting is many times when people ask me that question, they want to hear the unique stories. And so I do bring those ones up. Like, you know, one thing, stereotypically women have been sewing versus men for a really long time, and people gender sewing all the time. And I will tell you, the majority of the people that come to the sewing days are older women, because they've been taught as a young person how to sew, and sewing is not something as common right now in the schools. And so I like when maybe some of the non-traditional people who are stereotypically, you know, not here at the sewing days, come, participate, understand that it's comfortable, and can, you know, tell other people about why it's kind of awesome.
Een vraag ook misschien dat ik voor mezelf denk dat ik nog altijd aan het zoeken ben. Ik ken het beginpunt nog niet, want ik ben nog maar in een mini beginfase van wat dat Renee Herleef zou kunnen zijn. Dus mijn vraag voor haar was, wat was het eerste project dat je deed waarvan dat je dacht, oké, ja, ik kan eigenlijk enkel en alleen maar artiest zijn. En dat is meer dan voldoende en zo ga ik door het leven gaan.
Yeah. You know, it was funny. It's not a project that's related to this, but so as a kid, I lived in a very small town, kind of like Bruges, and where there was cultural connections, like people believed in creative arts. At the same time, it was a small town, and so we had to make our own fun, essentially. And I know it's very hard for me to hold my hands. I move them a lot. And so standing is so hard. So I remember as a kid, I was in high school and I had done all these performance things and made all these sculptures, and the art classes were really supportive of me being very independent. But I just thought, oh, this is what you do, is you make stuff. And that's just part of life, you know? I don't know that's a job. A job is separate. And art, it's part of your life. Like, you just make it constantly because that's what I have to do. And I remember I was asked by one of the teachers in high school to be the photographer for the yearbook. So we have this thing that's like all the photos at the end of the year of all the people who are in school, and we all sign it, and there's photographs of sports. It's just kind of like a document of the year. And it's not usually for art kids. You know, it's usually for the cheerleaders and the cool kids. And I was like, why are you asking me to be part of this group? And the art teacher said, oh, well, you're good at creativity. You'd be a good photographer. And I was like, oh. And all of a sudden she's like, yeah, you can do this as a job. And it was just this light bulb. I had no idea. Like, I thought, oh, you make art because you just love to do it and it's something we have to do, and, you know, I'll just keep going. And then she shifted the narrative. She was like, no, it's something that you can make money at, you can continue doing. Yeah, it blew my mind. It changed my whole thought process about what it was to be an artist, and I got really excited because I thought, I can do this longer. It doesn't just have to be when I'm young.
Een klein tussenvraagje was, wat is jouw favoriete kleur of patroon? Haar antwoord was dit.
You know, I really love fuchsia, and it's kind of like a pinkish purple. It's like a really saturated pink because it looks so good outside. You know, a lot of times when working in the city, it's a lot of gray and red brick, and then green from the trees. And that fuchsia just looks so good. It makes anything outdoors look amazing.
Als voorbereiding op de interviews heb ik natuurlijk een keer naar haar website gekeken. Wat bestaat er allemaal van informatie of achtergrondinformatie over haar persoon als artiest. En de allereerste project dat ik terugvond, gedateerd van 2006 denk ik, noemt Mountain Woonnaps. En dat is eigenlijk iets dat zij uitgevonden heeft.
Oh shit. I mean, the evolution, that was graduate school, so I got my master's in fine arts, and at that time I was thinking about what it meant to call yourself an artist. Like, what does it mean when you label yourself that? And how does our community react to that when you call yourself that label? And so I decided during grad school, the woonabs are these things, it was like an art object that I decided to make the celebrity. It's an art object. So I kind of made up this word. Yep, made up this word and made up this shape. And I obsessively made it for 3 years during graduate school in all different forms. I did performances, I did sculptures, drawings, paintings, a lot of fabric stuff, and tried to create its own little environment. And after that, I think it was more of an understanding of like, this is what it means to be an artist. Okay, so you're kind of allowed to do more things. Like, the community is kind of cool with you putting fabric on buildings because you're an artist. They've labeled you that. So as kind of a I think it's responsible of artists to like work with the community or connect. You know, it just felt good to do that.
En dan een leuk vraagje, met een heel leuk antwoord van Amanda. Stel dat morgen de wereld geen stof meer heeft, maar wat zou ze dan aan de slag gaan?
Why? Who does this? Yeah. Then we're all gonna be naked.
Yeah.
Oh, I love to draw and I love to do photography. I studied photography for a while when I was young, like Ansel Adams, but I was a mathematics person for a while in undergraduate, and so even the photography that I learned was like through equations and making sure gray tones were there. And so there's that kind of background of what do you call it? Just the systematic construction of work that I really enjoy. I don't connect to painting, but I love to draw and I love to take photographs, but photographs in a way of showing something that, I don't know, that maybe people don't expect, but honestly, I just like shooting my own work now. And like making it look like the environment shifted. Like it was kind of a happy accident that happened over there, and you're like, wait a minute, This is not a traditional landscape. This has like something in the middle of it.
Welk advies zou je geven aan jonge artiesten die echt van zin zijn om daarvan te kunnen leven, om enkel maar dat te doen? Wat is het beste advies dat je zou kunnen geven?
I would say be nice to everybody. It's the most important thing. I think as an artist you want to isolate, and because you're part of that competition of like doing better and getting new jobs, and it's a hustle for sure. But I think the most important thing is to just be as generous and nice as possible, especially to other artists. That competition can create separation, and then you have a harder time getting stuff done. So the more generous you can be to your friends who are in the arts, the better you will do.
I like that advice.
Yeah, it's important. I mean, not supporting each other, we struggle so much as artists, and so if one of our friends win as an artist, like gets a grant or an exhibition, we all win, because it's difficult. It's always a hustle. I mean, I'm not going to be super rich when I get old, and I'm fine with that. Like, this is rich. This is a rich experience, is to be able to do this. I mean, yes, I would love it if our culture appreciated artists even more, so we could make a living comfortably, but we can't always right now. So I'm going to take the small things, like being able to take bike rides through Bruges, have a place to be able to stay here for a month and a half. Oh, it's so awesome. And be able to sew with all these people. It's magical. Like, it's such a cool way to get to know a town.
De allerlaatste vraag waar ik altijd mee afsluit is: mijn naam is Renee Herleef. Welke herinnering zou je heel graag nog eens herleven?
Oh, geez. I mean, in some way, I know this sounds bonkers, but it would be so cool to, like, see me being born. I want to know, but you need to know why. My mother is a midwife, and so I grew up with pregnant women and mothers being through our house.
7 months ago, my first, yeah.
Nice. That's so good. Yeah. And I've seen my friends give birth, and I watched my sister give birth, and so it's like be born, and so it would be cool. It was a beginning kind of moment for myself, but then also our family, and my parents are very supportive. So it'd be kind of cool to know what my parents were like as a young person, but it's also just a weird thing to think about, like, God, this is the beginning of something. It's just a weird place. I mean, I definitely could say, like, it would be cool to be in high school and see what I was like, and you're so, as a young person, embedded in your own subconscious, and to kind of be on the outside for a second as an adult and see yourself, oof, that would be crazy. You just want to give yourself advice. You're like, don't worry, it'll get better, or you're doing great, good job. But I think that's why I work with kids. I like working with children, just to remind them they can be strong and creative, and it's okay.
Such a nice answer.
Oh, it's gonna make me cry. I am a sensitive person.
Yeah. I love that. Look, I think what's a beautiful word is that systematic construction of work.
Yeah, there we go. Oh.
So these are the upfront ones.
Very cool.
Next thing I do is I give them color digitally.
Cool, that's great.
I hope I can work with the city of Bruges and give them to you as a gift.
Oh, that'd be so nice. That would be so sweet. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yeah, I choke up pretty easily, so it's not. Yeah, I